Good evening. It is Wednesday, September 17th. This is CTV at 6. Here's what's making news tonight. A former youth worker is charged with sexually abusing hundreds of children. A suspect is arrested for a hate crime in the Synagogue spray paint incidents.
Following a chance of showers late Thursday into Friday, expect a cooler fall feel to the air for the start of the weekend.
Live from our Maritime's News Center, this is CTV News at 6. Here is Todd Battis.
Good evening. An arrest has been made in relation to the hate-motivated graffiti spray painted on 3 Halifax synagogues over the weekend. A 31-year-old man is now behind bars and facing 7 charges. CTV's Jesse Thomas has more.
Halifax police have a man in custody and charged in connection with hateful graffiti spray painted on 3 synagogues over the weekend. The violent images included a swastika and the false claim that Jews were responsible for 9/11. The messages were discovered by worshippers Sunday morning. Security cameras outside one of the synagogues captured images of the suspect, which police made public on Monday. Chief Don McLean says tips from the public quickly led investigators to make the arrest. In a statement, he said, "I am pleased with the outcome of this investigation. While I credit the quick and thorough work of HRP's hate crime investigator, I also want to thank the public who came forward to help identify the suspect." 31-year-old Gesem Topali was arrested Tuesday at his Halifax home and faces 7 charges, including 3 counts of mischief related to religious property, 3 counts of property damage, and 1 count of incitement of hatred. Topali was due in court today, but Nova Scotia's chief crown attorney says the bail hearing was pushed over until Thursday morning, as police and lawyers still had information to exchange and go over. The Atlantic Jewish Council is thanking both police and the public.
In the short term, what we need to see is that the existing laws on the books concerning expressions of hate be enforced vigorously, and that we think will send a message. I think the broader piece is education, but that's a more of a longer-term project.
And the string of incidents was shocking for the Halifax Jewish community, but there is relief tonight that an arrest has been made. As for Topali, he's set to appear in Halifax Provincial Court for a bail hearing tomorrow morning at 9:30 a.m. Todd?
All right, Jesse, thank you for that from the police headquarters in downtown Halifax this evening. Now to a stunning arrest in a multi-year investigation. Today, RCMP revealed a 75-year-old former swim instructor at a Nova Scotia youth detention center has been charged with sexual offenses involving hundreds of children over a quarter century. CTV's Callum Smith has our report.
Trying to gather his words, an emotional news conference detailing troubling allegations.
Through Operation Headwind, we learned that the swim instructor at the Nova Scotia Youth Centre sexually assaulted over 300 young people between the ages of 12 and 18 over almost a 30-year period.
Police said all the alleged victims were boys with the exception of 1 girl. RCMP commending the bravery and patience of those who have come forward, saying 450 people across the country have been interviewed, leading police to lay 66 charges against 1 man, 75-year-old Donald Douglas Williams, who was arrested at his Dartmouth home last Saturday. But those charges only cover about 30 of the more than 300 reported victims.
Additional charges are expected against Doug Williams, and they'll be announced in the coming months.
Williams worked at the youth detention center known as Waterville from 1988 to 2017. The alleged assaults happened between 1989 and 2015.
This instructor held a position of authority, and the young people he victimized should have been able to trust him and feel safe with him.
Officers began investigating the allegations in 2018 and formed Operation Headwind in 2021, expanding to a 14-member unit dedicated solely to this investigation. RCMP declined speaking to how much bigger the criminal case could get, saying some survivors might not want to pursue it. Most of the charges so far for sexual assault and sexual exploitation, but Williams also faces 3 counts of sexual assault causing bodily harm.
Sexual assault is a devastating crime with traumatic, lifelong impacts on those who've experienced it.
A private tip line for Operation Headwind was set up in 2023.
We believe there may be more survivors and people in the community who knew about the abuse that occurred at the Nova Scotia Youth Centre. If you or someone you know experienced sexual assault while at Waterville, we want you to know it's not too late to report what happened.
None of the allegations have been tested in court. In a statement, Justice Minister Becky Drouin says when the department became aware of the allegations, they were immediately reported to RCMP. She says the well-being, safety, and dignity of those in provincial custody is a top priority. As for Williams, he was released on conditions and is due in Kentville Provincial Court next week. Todd.
Callum Smith from Waterville, Nova Scotia. You may have noticed we had a technical issue off the top of that story. We regret that. In the past few minutes, we learned the details of the settlement between Dalhousie University and its faculty. 96% of members voted to accept the deal that includes a 10% raise over the life of the contract. Those details are at our website right now, ctvnewsatlantic.ca. A man is dead following an ATV crash in rural Cape Breton. It happened last night before 10:30 in the Grand Anse area of Richmond County. The vehicle was found overturned on the side of the road. A 39-year-old man from Whiteside was pronounced dead at the scene. The cause of the crash remains under investigation tonight. There's a live look at Truro. 6 minutes after 6 o'clock, 22 degrees, a beautiful sky, as we bring in Kayla Mitchell for the first time tonight to take a look at what has been a warm day, to say the least.
Yeah, and a warm and in some cases hot evening around the Maritime. Say hot because we don't often see temperatures in the middle of September that are getting up to the high 20s and remaining there as we're heading into the evening hours. But that's what we have on the go for some communities in New Brunswick right now. I did take a look to see if these were record-setting high temperatures. It turns out in most cases they're not. They're missing by about a degree or two. We have had some very hot September 17th in the past, particularly 2024, 2018. Other parts of the Maritime seeing temperatures right now around the low to mid-20s. Want to talk a little bit about September rain, or basically lack thereof. Here's where we stand as we move past the midpoint of the month for rain so far compared to the average amount typically seen in September. And you can see we are well below that for most of the Maritime region. The Yarmouth report, that was only because of basically a downpour, a thunderstorm on August 8th, so that was very localized, and you obviously didn't see that type of widespread rain across other parts of the region. Look at Greenwood in the Annapolis Valley, only sitting at about 4% right now of the average amount of rain seen in September. We'll make some gains on these numbers, but overall, our fairly dry weather pattern has continued into this month and looks like it's going to carry on for the next several days. Over on radar and satellite currently for tonight, we're seeing some increasing high cloud cover from the south, not expecting any precipitation from that, but there will be some scattered showers that come in late Thursday into Friday for the Maritimes from this cold front that's currently making its way through areas of Quebec and Ontario. You should temper your expectations for rainfall amounts out of that front, though. Current indications are that even the areas that catch the showers from it, in most cases, would be lucky to pick up maybe a couple millimeters of rain. And then after that, it's high pressure moving back in for the weekend. And I'll have more on that extended forecast and an update on the latest tropical storm that's developed in the Atlantic when I come back a little bit later on.
Hard to believe, only around 10% for a lot of the region. Wow. Okay, we will see you later for that full forecast, Kellen. Thank you. Last night, we introduced you to a family that lost everything in the apartment fire in Middle Sackville. Well, now, we're happy to report they have found a place to live. But as CTV's Emma Convey reports, many others are not so fortunate.
It was 2:30 on Monday morning when Adi Agrawal got a call. His friends needed help after losing their home and belongings in this building fire.
I just rushed to them and saw them in their pajamas. They didn't have anything left.
After getting out and watching their home burn, the next hurdle for this family was where to go.
I took them in. They are currently living with me, and that's the least I can do.
For Amit and Monica, finding a place to live was priority. They're grateful they found one.
On Friday, we'll move out to this apartment, and I have to, I guess, buy a mattress first and then take it from there, everything from scratch.
The other 63 families displaced by the fire may not have the same luck.
It's a really challenging market. Vacancy is still 1 to 2%. Most of that vacancy is in the more expensive types of housing. And so these folks are facing what many Nova Scotians have been facing for a long time.
Among the problems faced by these displaced tenants is insurance and whether or not they are covered and by how much.
What will be covered is what they had insured. So, for example, there could be a tenant's policy that had a package with a $10,000 limit. So if everything is gone, the likelihood of reaching that $10,000 limit is pretty good.
This couple did have insurance, and according to the Insurance Bureau of Canada, most of the tenants at 119 Hanwell Drive did as well.
At this time, they told me just prepare a list as detailed as you can, and they'll sit with me and maybe go over that list.
It's an extensive claims list for them, since their entire unit went up in flames.
They will have coverage for all of those items that they lost up to the limit that's indicated in their policy.
Additional living expenses are also included in these insurance policies. As for the fire, the cost has yet to be determined. Emma Convey, CTV News, Middle Sackville.
The burn ban is back in much of New Brunswick. There are currently 8 fires burning in the province. A fire chief says if wildfire seasons like this one become the norm, there will need to be changes. CTV's Laura Brown has more.
It's a different ballgame.
This New Brunswick fire chief is referring to a structure fire versus a wildfire. And Scott Poupar says over 400 volunteer and career firefighters have had to battle the latter this summer.
So when we're pulling members out for hours at a time, days at a time, helping in these situations, you know, it puts more stress on your volunteer fire services throughout the province. So yeah, we're definitely going to need more people because we're going to burn people out quicker if this continues.
Last year saw less than 200 hectares burn in New Brunswick. This year, over 2,500 so far. And several days reached nearly 40 degrees, creating dangerous conditions for first responders.
We did have 5 to 6 people that suffered some heat exhaustion and heat stroke. It's a time when we really need to slow down our operations and really take care of people's well-being.
As of September 11th, 97 tickets have been handed out in New Brunswick for violating the burn ban, leaving a fire unattended, or for industries burning without a permit. Poupar says there are still too many repeat offenders.
It's a start, but I still don't think it's enough. I looked at Nova Scotia where their fines are pretty hefty, and they have zero tolerance. We have a portion of the population that doesn't respect these sort of limitations that are put on them.
If wildfire seasons like this year's become the norm, he feels more training, fines, and even more firefighters will be needed to keep things under control.
Because I don't think climate change is going to change back to where it was. I think it's only going to be, we're looking at the future here, not at the past.
Laura Brown, CTV News, Fredericton.
Fredericton traffic was snarled this morning when an 18-wheeler got lodged under a busy downtown overpass. Take a look at this. No one was hurt, but the truck didn't drive away unscathed. The collision closed the intersection for much of the day. Fredericton police say initial assessments confirm there's been no structural damage to the bridge. The truck was mostly carrying alcoholic beverages, and this may be surprising, but this is not an uncommon sight in the capital city.
I've probably seen this about 15, 16 times at least.
And you have actually tried to stop some trucks from going under?
I do. Stop them all the time. I'm waving my arms and stopping them, and they thank me for it.
The truck was still stuck late this afternoon. Justice and Public Safety issued the driver a ticket for just under $300 for exceeding a height restriction. Fire has destroyed 3 trailers at a campground in Nova Scotia's Annapolis Valley. Firefighters were called to the R&R campground near Berwick around lunchtime today. When they arrived, 3 camper trailers were on fire. The outside of a 4th trailer was also damaged. The fire had spread to the grass behind the trailers, but crews were able to put it out. No one was injured, no word on the cause yet. People who work with the homeless in New Brunswick are reacting to the province's announcement that a task force will be set up to address the situation. Today, our Derek Haggett spoke with those on the ground.
An affordable housing advocate trying to provide shelter for Moncton's most vulnerable is encouraged by the province's new task force on homelessness.
I think it's excellent news. I think it's been a while coming.
The province announced a ministerial task force to address chronic homelessness yesterday in Shediac.
And its first actions will be to include a provincial homelessness strategy and establishing an advisory council of community partners.
Chronic homelessness in New Brunswick has increased by 210% over the past 4 years. Dale Hicks is the head of a not-for-profit affordable housing organization based out of Moncton.
We've used the analogy that we're putting Band-Aids on bullet holes, and we've long been waiting for the provincial government to kind of say, well, let's take the bull by the horns here. We're wrestling with the bull, but someone has to take it by the horns.
There are roughly 13,000 people currently on the provincial housing wait list.
We're always searching for land at Rising Tide to build affordable housing in, and land is a starting point, and then there has to be some funding behind that, but it's build, baby, build, but it's a lot easier said than done.
The executive director of the Harvest House shelter in Moncton told CTV News today his staff see the human impact of homelessness daily, calling the issue a humanitarian crisis.
Minister Hickey's got the mindset like but talk is cheap. We got to do something. We got to show results.
The province wants to cut homelessness by 40% by the year 2029. Dale Hicks thinks that's pretty aggressive, but he's encouraged by the group leading the task force. Derek Haggett, CTV News, Moncton.
Get the Maritime's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Nova Scotia has lost a trailblazing senator, lawyer, and educator. Donald Oliver passed away early this morning following a long battle with heart disease. Oliver made history in 1990 when he became the first African-Canadian man appointed to the Senate. Born in Wolfville, he was a lawyer, an educator, and the founder of the Black Cultural Centre. He was admired for his commitment to issues of social justice and nation building. Premier Tim Houston called him a courageous trailblazer. Donald Oliver was a mentor to many and a friend to all who knew him. A memorial service will be held September 27th at New Horizons Baptist Church in Halifax. Time for our first break tonight. Still to come, a bit of high cloud over the region. Kaylin will have the full forecast. But next, cutting the rate.
Any reduction in interest rates is always good for anybody who's borrowing money.
The Bank of Canada has dropped its key lending rate. We will tell you why after this. Citing a worsening economy, the governor of the Bank of Canada announced a cut in the prime lending rate today. CTV's Avery McRae looks at what that means for your wallet.
It's a quiet afternoon at the used car depot in St. John. A cut to the nation's key interest rate announced today in theory would make things busier. But owner John Trivet says otherwise.
People's credit is going to affect the rate that they get, not so much the prime rate. Used cars, again, 1/4 of a point. If you do the payment and work it out, it's not a ton of money.
It was the first rate cut made by the nation's central bank since March. It's a cut of 25 basis points to lower the interest rate to 2.5%.
Any reduction in interest rates is always good for anybody who's borrowing money.
But St. John realtor Bob McVicker admits the rate reduction won't make a big difference in his area. That's because the demand is heavily outweighing supply, with an average home in the greater St. John area going for 8 to 10% over asking.
We already have more buyers than sellers. But I think the biggest impact that we're going to see in a positive way finally with some reduction in interest rates is for those folks who are going to be renewing in the next year or so, because that's a doubling of interest rates or more.
Reasons for the most recent rate cut include a softening labor market and a slowing economy as a result of uncertainty surrounding tariffs. Looking ahead to the rest of 2025,
I think we might have another rate cut before the end of the year. There's still a few more announcements to come. We could have one in October, or we could also have one in December. I think you'll see one before the end of the year. If not in October, then in December.
As for the market impact, Mang says there won't be much of a change following today's cut announcement, which had been expected for several weeks. Avery McRae, CTV News, St. John.
So Canada could be heading towards recession as the economy slows. There could be more rate cuts to follow. Tonight in the web poll, we're asking, how concerned are you about losing your job? Your options are very concerned, somewhat concerned, or maybe you're not concerned at all. We'd like to hear from you at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. Rule changes coming to the trucking industry in Nova Scotia has some small operators worried they'll be put out of business. CTV's Jonathan McGuinness tells us why.
Andy Weir has been in the trucking business since the mid-70s. He was planning on leaving his company to his son. He's now not sure that's going to happen.
I'm hoping the government will, figure out this was the best thing we had. This is what we had for 32 years.
Weir is talking about the 80-20 rule that was introduced back in 1993. It guarantees 80% of all provincial government highway work is allocated to Trucking Association of Nova Scotia members, who are often small business operators based in rural communities. The other 20% goes to the main contractor.
And the 80-20, what it did, it gave us the chance of any member that belonged to the association, if they was in good standing, you could go to work. You had your equal opportunity to go to work for them jobs.
TAN's members found out last month that the rule is being dropped. In a letter to the association, Public Works Minister Fred Tilley says eliminating 80-20 is an effort to reduce interprovincial trade barriers as part of Canada's response to tariff pressures.
But when you think about procurement, that excludes a lot of other folks who may not be members of that group. So that's the issue with 80-20 as we know it today.
Tilley says opening provincial tenders to more companies is the right move.
If you picture 80-20 with regards to provincial highway work, we're basically saying as a government that there's a chunk of work that only this group of people can do 80% of the time.
Weir worries small operations like his across the province won't be able to survive, saying big contractors with their own fleet will no longer need the little guy. Well, Todd, the 80-20 rule is still in place for any contract signed prior to 2026. The new rules come into effect on January 1st and will apply to any contract signed after that date. Todd.
We'll certainly watch that. John in the Annapolis Valley this evening. Okay, time for a break. Still to come, cloudier conditions for the Maritimes tomorrow. Kalen's going to have the details. He's working on them now in the full Maritime forecast. We'll have that for you after the break.
Start your morning with us for what you need to start your day. News, weather, and even a little fun. Your Morning Atlantic with Amanda Devison, Crystal Garrett, and Latavia Beezer. Weekdays from 6 to 9 on CTV2 and ctvatlantic.ca.
Oh, you gotta love the Maritimes. Low tide at Minister's Island in New Brunswick near St. Andrews. One of the only places I know of, but low tide, you can drive across to the island.
That's pretty cool.
And that's how you get there.
Mm-hmm.
And a beautiful day to do it.
Yeah. I don't know if that gets talked about enough, and when it comes to tourism here in the Maritimes, the fact that you can actually do that there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, really cool to see. Before we get into our forecast here in the Maritimes, I want to bring you an update on a tropical storm. We talked about this yesterday.
You haven't had many to talk about this year.
No, not lately. She's been a little bit odd, especially considering we've come up to the peak of the season. But we were keeping track of that area out in the middle of the Atlantic. It's very much out in the middle of the Atlantic right now. But this is a tropical storm, Gabrielle. It has maximum sustained winds near 85 kilometers per hour. It's not particularly well organized at the moment. It's actually moving towards the northwest near 23 kilometers per hour. Here's the latest forecast track from the National Hurricane Center, and the extended forecast goes out all the way up to next Monday. And you can see that that forecast track doesn't approach us here in the Maritimes or Atlantic Canada. It does approach, though, maybe Bermuda, or come to the vicinity of Bermuda. So Bermuda will have to be paying attention to the development of this storm system over over the next several days. Now, there's a reason why the National Hurricane Center only goes out about 5 days with these storm tracks, and that's because these storms are subject to a lot of change, especially in the long-range forecast. But even looking at some forecast guidance, talking about computer forecast models that go out beyond this time, it looks highly unlikely like this storm system will become a risk to us here in the Maritimes and Atlantic Canada. It does look like it's going to take a curve back off towards the North Atlantic. That being said, we'll keep tabs on it in case something changes here. Taking a look at weather conditions across the country, looking out west, very fair, low 20s right now. Vancouver, Victoria, Prince George sitting at 23 degrees. It's hot in Edmonton, sitting at 27 right now. Low 20s, Saskatoon and Regina. Winnipeg, just a touch cooler, sitting at 19. Southern Ontario is pretty warm. Got 25 right now at Toronto, 24 at Montreal, reporting some cloud cover. 24 degrees at Fredericton this hour, 21 at Halifax, and 23 at Charlottetown, 16 degrees for St. John's. Taking a look at our timeline for cloud cover and precipitation, so that high cloud that we've been seeing increase a little bit throughout the day today for parts of the Maritimes, that's going to continue to roll in out of the south as we make our way through the night. That's off of that stalled out low pressure system around the eastern seaboard of the United States that in some areas has created some flooding issues. As for tomorrow, we start off the day with a fairly cloudy sky around the region. I do expect that cloud cover to break up a little bit into and through the afternoon, so some sunny breaks certainly possible, and even a bit more of a fair weather mix of sun and cloud for some northern and western areas of New Brunswick. Low chance of showers beginning the afternoon in the southwest of Nova Scotia, 20 to 30% chance, and then a bit of a higher chance of showers, say 40% chance for northern areas of New Brunswick beginning Thursday evening as a cold front begins to move in out of the west, and that's the same front that could bring some scattered showers to parts of the Maritimes on Friday. Winds in the forecast for tomorrow out of the southwest. They increase a little bit compared to today, becoming just a little bit more on the breezy side. Some gusts in the range of 30 to 40 kilometers per hour, a little bit more widespread, especially eastern New Brunswick, Prince Edward Island, eastern areas of Nova Scotia. Low temperatures tonight for the region, a little bit milder than the past couple of nights, falling into a range around 10 to 16 degrees. And still warm for a mid-September day tomorrow. We're looking at highs of 22 to 25 across the north of New Brunswick and central and southern areas of New Brunswick with high temperatures mostly in the low 20s, 19 on parts of the Bay of Fundy coastline. Prince Edward Island for tomorrow with high temperatures 21 to 24 degrees. For eastern areas of Nova Scotia, most of the highs will be in the low 20s, 20 to 23. Northern and central parts of the province with high temperatures as well, 20 to 22 degrees for tomorrow, so maybe not quite as warm as it was today. The Annapolis Valley with highs near 23, and on the south shore of Nova Scotia, high temperatures between 21 and 23 degrees. Taking a look at the 7-day outlook for New Brunswick coming up on Friday. Isolated showers, highest chance of a shower will be in the morning and for the south of the province. Cool, almost fall feeling start to the upcoming weekend. Sunshine for Sunday. And speaking of fall, equinox coming up on Monday. Tuesday, a mix of sun and cloud, and then a chance of showers after that on Wednesday. For Nova Scotia in the forecast, coming up on Friday, it is scattered showers. Bit of a cool start to the weekend. High temperatures on Saturday around the mid-teens. Overnight lows down to around the low to mid-single digits. Same thing goes for Saturday night into Sunday. On Monday, looking at a mix of sun and cloud. Same thing goes for Tuesday of next week, and a chance of showers on Wednesday. And for Prince Edward Island, coming up on Friday, scattered showers with that cold front. It moves through. Temperatures cool down for the start of the weekend. They recover a little bit on Sunday, highs near 18 degrees, up to 21 on Monday, 23 for Tuesday with a mix of sun and cloud. Chance of showers on Wednesday, Todd.
What would you call that? Just a hint of sweater weather?
Just a hint for this weekend. Yeah, a little early preview, maybe.
Yeah, then it bounces back.
Yeah.
All right, we'll see you at the end of the show. Next, a new book looks at the challenges in the lobster industry. We will be joined by the author. And we have this story in entertainment.
I'm Katie Kelly. Tonight on The Scene, Halifax-born Grammy winner Sarah McLachlan is back. Her first new album in over a decade lands this Friday. We'll get a preview of her first single and the rest of today's local entertainment headlines coming up.
Okay, so we're back at it tomorrow. Virgin Radio's 5K a day, giving you a chance to win $5,000 daily.
Get your first keyword with us tomorrow morning at 7 a.m.
And tomorrow, get your shot at $100 to Studio. Good luck.
Welcome back. The lobster fishery, of course, is at the center of East Coast culture and commerce. We are joined tonight by Greg Mercer. He is one of our finest investigative journalists in this country from the St. John area, Darling's Island.
That's right.
In particular, got to get that right. He's written a fascinating look at the romance and reality of the lobster fishery. It is called The Lobster Trap. It is essential reading for anyone who lives here on the East Coast, wants to know about the lobster fishery. And the future of it and the history of it as well. And it takes a book, because I don't know, is there any other industry on the planet like the lobster fishery? It touches on everything, environment, politics, commerce, trade. There's really nothing like it.
No, this is it. When I was covering it as a daily reporter, it was really frustrating because you thought there's so much more here to this story. And I can't tell it in a daily story in 1,200 words. It needed more space. And so to have the luxury of telling it in book length, I feel like I can actually tell the story the way I wanted to, the way I felt it needed to be told, with all the context and the history and the politics and what's happening with our oceans. Trying to tell that story, I really couldn't do it if it wasn't in a book.
You've been covering, of course, for the Globe and Mail as your time in Atlantic Bureau Chief.
That's right.
And so now the opportunity to delve in it a little deeper. Look, I want you to address something because it comes up every so often. You, in the opening pages of the book, you explain why you use the term fishermen, not fishers. There are other terms used. Maybe explain why that's the case.
Yeah, the only reason I do that is because that is at the request of women who work in the fishery. Every time you would call them a fisher or a harvester, they would say, no, we're fishermen, the same as everyone else. So I'm just doing that out of respect to women who work in the fishery. They want to be called fishermen, and that's the term that I've used for the book.
I think everybody who lives in the Maritimes on the East Coast, along the coastline in particular, has some knowledge of the fishery. If nothing else, they see it. It's such a part of our lives. You more so than most, because you've been covering it in your career. But what did you learn in producing this book?
I learned that probably at no point in our history has there been more challenges facing this industry. And this is an incredibly important sector for Atlantic Canada. It's worth billions of dollars, employs tens of thousands of people. It's never had more uncertainty about its future. We've never fought more over lobster and who has the right to catch it. And we've never paid more for it as consumers. So there's a lot going on right now within the story of lobster.
I found it fascinating. In one part of the book, you're speaking with a fisherman, and I think we all get the impression that perhaps the industry is safer than it's been before because, you know, better boats, new technology. But this fisherman said, no, in fact, they're taking greater risks, pushing harder.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, I think without question, I mean, commercial fishing remains one of the most dangerous jobs in Canada. And one of the reasons is because there's so much money involved. Not just because the price of lobster is historically high, but the debt loads that fishermen are carrying in order to gain entry to the industry, to buy boats, to buy licenses. Often it can be $1.5 million that a young fisherman has. So that pressure to continue fishing, even to go out in weather that perhaps your grandfather might not have gone out in, is very real. And so we can't remove it from the story of lobster today.
And at the same time, they never know exactly what they're going to come back with. You don't know what the catch is going to be like from one year to the next. Weather can get in the way. There's all kinds of variables. Heaven forbid, things like trade.
Absolutely. I mean, you feel like just when they think they've got some calm waters, another curveball is thrown at them, right? So it seems like the more that things stay the same, they keep changing in the fishery. And so you're right. This year, just as people think they're starting to get ahead of one issue, China, and then China throws tariffs at Canada, and Donald Trump threatens us with tariffs. And so it's constantly being challenged from all corners.
Talk about the impact that live shipping has made. It's revolutionized it. I mean, there's few other industries where the catch is live and can be shipped. And we see in the Halifax area, you see planes from Korea coming in.
Absolutely.
Filling up with primarily nothing but lobster, and this heading the other side of the world.
It's been an absolute game changer, right? The ability to take live lobster from the coast of Nova Scotia, get it to the airport, and chill it to the point where you can transport it safely without killing it, and then loading it on a plane and flying it to Beijing and doing all this within a weekend. We couldn't do that a couple of decades ago. Now we do it on a daily basis. And because of that, it's opened up all kinds of markets around the world. And we've turned what was once a regional food into really a global luxury food.
Well, and on that, there is lobster everywhere in the world, right? Lots of varieties. It's this particular species.
Absolutely.
That's in demand.
Absolutely, yeah. North American lobster is most prized. We pay the most for it because it has those claws. There's a lot of lobster species in the world that don't have the claws, but our lobster, the world wants it more than any other species. There's certainly other types, but no lobster as an industry is worth more than our lobster.
We talk about how important it is to the commerce, the economy of the East Coast, also to the culture. There are pressures that you write at great length, whether it is warming oceans, whether it's overfishing. Could there be a scenario where we see a collapse like what happened in the cod fishery?
I mean, I think we all hope not, of course, but we don't have to look far to see where it has collapsed. If you look to the southern New England fishery, places like Rhode Island or Connecticut, where it's completely collapsed. There's really no lobster there. And while their fishery is a little different than ours, they have a different set of rules, they're fishing the same kind of lobster in the same kind of conditions. So people point to that and say, if it can happen there, it could happen here, and we should not pretend that we are invincible, that those kind of problems, we won't see them here.
There's been a lot of headlines recently, in recent years, the indigenous fishery, the right to the fishery. That is not new. It goes back, you write about it, it goes back to the 1700s.
Yeah.
But at that point, it was a very different scenario. Maybe you can talk a bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the irony is that the treaties that the British colonial government was signing with the indigenous folks, with the Mi'kmaq, was to protect British ships who were going into Mi'kmaq territory and fishing. It was really as part of to form an alliance because they were fighting with the French. The British need the Mi'kmaq on side, so they gave them this. Said, look, we won't go into your fishing areas, your traditional areas, so that we can concentrate on fighting the French. If you look at it today, it's completely turned upside down. I mean, really, it's it's about allowing the Mi'kmaq into the access to a fishery they've really been excluded from a long time.
Right. It's a fascinating book. Like I said, you've got a couple of appearances that you're making. You want to talk about that?
That's right. Yeah, tonight at the Bus Stop Theatre in Halifax, 7 o'clock, and 7 o'clock tomorrow night in Fredericton at St. Thomas University.
Like any good journalist, to do your research, you went out on the boats. How did you make out?
Not very well. I learned I meant to work on land. I was violently seasick when I went out a couple of years ago in a day after a storm, and it really gave me an appreciation for the work they do.
I can vouch for that as well. You think you may be a tough guy, and then you go out on the water and you realize just how difficult a job that is.
Yeah,
Never mind the risks.
It's humbling. It's a dangerous job. It's a difficult job, and we need to appreciate the work these folks do to bring lobster to us.
The book is The Lobster Trap, and it's available now in stores, as they say on television.
Thanks, Todd. Appreciate it.
We'll take a break. We'll be back with much more of your newscast after this. We're on the scene with Katie Kelly. Hi.
Hi.
Welcome back. You were on assignment last night?
Yes, shooting some stuff for the QE2 home lottery.
Okay.
Lots of fun.
Tonight we're going to talk about a Maritime favorite.
Yes.
Hometown gal, even though she calls the West Coast home now. Sarah McLachlan is back with her first album. This is hard to believe, in over a decade.
Yes.
Wow.
Yep. So the three-time Grammy Award winner from Nova Scotia releases Better Broken this Friday.
You and me were meant to be a sweet and simple melody.
Sounds good, eh?
Yeah, it does.
The record features her new single called Reminds Me. This one is a collaboration with Katie Gavin. And alongside the new music, Todd, a television premiere. Lilith Fair, Building a Mystery, hits screens on September 17th. Better Broken arrives September 19th.
Boy, she endured a lot of, I won't say the word, at Lilith Fair. There were a lot of haters. So good to see that she's still doing fantastic.
Yeah,
All
it'll
right.
be interesting to see the documentary.
Speaking of docs, Face Off, inside the NHL, back for season 2 with special screenings across the country.
Yeah, so this is really cool. People are going to be excited about this, especially here in Halifax. Nova Scotia's own Sidney Crosby takes the spotlight.
Sure he does.
On September 28th, the Scotiabank Centre hosts a community event featuring a brand new episode. So this will be hosted in support of the Sidney Crosby Foundation, and the screening will offer fans a sneak preview of the new season, plus the chance to win a trip to see Crosby and the Penguins take on the Leafs in Toronto on November 3rd. So Face Off Inside the NHL returns October 13th on Prime Video. But of course, you can get tickets to that special screening happening here at the Scotiabank Centre in September.
All right, that sounds fun.
Yeah, cool.
The buzz around the 27th Annual African Nova Scotia Music Awards building up now.
That's true.
Yep.
And this year's theme is Roots and Rhythm. The talent list, too, just continues to grow. The latest addition, Maggie Andrew, the Halifax-born artist, is set to hit the stage at the Lighthouse Arts Centre October 9th. She'll join a powerhouse lineup that already includes Slim of 112, Mark Riley, and many more, all part of a night celebrating Black excellence in music. Tickets are on sale now for the ANSMA Awards show. I've gone the last few years. Such a fun event, and I'll definitely be back this year.
How has it been a year already?
I know, it feels like we were just there.
No
yeah.
kidding. And the
Goes
Cape
quick.
Breton music community is rallying around one of their own. You told
Yeah.
us about this a little earlier.
Yes, so a benefit event will raise funds for singer Elise Aaron. So Elise Aaron is a singer, like I mentioned, who works part-time, though, at the Sandbar Restaurant and Lounge. She's recovering after a serious motorcycle accident. Well, this Saturday, friends, fans, and fellow musicians are coming together for a benefit at the restaurant. It'll be packed with live performances from local acts, including Hearts of Kin, the Turnbull Brothers, and Matt Minglewood. That's just to name a few. All proceeds go directly toward Elise's road to recovery. I was actually texting with her earlier today, and she said she was home, so that's great news. And hopefully lots of people, I'm sure they will turn out for this benefit on Saturday.
And knowing some of those artists in Cape Breton, they would have signed off awfully quick
Yeah,
to sign on to that, right?
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. We'll see you tomorrow. Here's what's on CTV tonight.
Mornings with Crash and Sarah Betts.
We got the Devon Wildcats news team here with us.
Tomorrow we're talking time capsules.
Listen tomorrow morning at 6.
Hey, Kaylin, I said last night that we'd have the market report tonight. I was called today, assured that it will be tomorrow. There was an issue, they couldn't do it tonight. So tomorrow, I know folks are interested in that.
Yeah.
More interested, no doubt, all of us about the weather.
Sure, why not? And it's a pretty nice evening across the Maritime region. We are seeing a little bit of increase in cloudiness, so even here in the north end of Halifax right now, it's mostly that thin, high cloud cover. We'll continue to see a little bit more clouds roll in throughout the night. Let's take a look at our viewer picture for tonight, and this is coming in from part of Brunswick we don't often get pictures from, but it's a beautiful area. This is coming in from Campobello Island, sent in by Gord Danielson. I want to thank Gord very much for sending in this picture. Got the ferry there in the foreground, and of course blue waters and blue sky. Campobello for tomorrow. Can expect, we'll call it cloudy with sunny breaks and a high temperature near 21 degrees. Day planner for tomorrow across the Maritime region in the morning hours. A little bit cloudier than the past couple of mornings have been, but fairly mild with most temperatures between 10 and 16. And then moving into and through Thursday afternoon, cloudy with sunny breaks. A low chance of some showers in the afternoon in the southwest of Nova Scotia, about a 20 or 30% chance. And then a bit of a higher chance of some showers later Thursday evening and Thursday night in northern areas of New Brunswick. Todd.
All right, thanks, Kaylin. We'll see you tomorrow. We're going to keep the nautical theme alive now. Finally for us tonight, divers have recovered artifacts from the sister ship to Titanic for the first time since the ocean liner sank in the Aegean Sea more than a century ago. Greece's culture ministry has announced that a deep sea diving team recovered artifacts from Britannic in May, including the ship's bell and a navigation light. Designed as a luxury liner and launched in 1914, the White Star liner was being used as a hospital ship during the First World War. When it was struck, It hit a mine and sank off the island of Kay, I hope I said that right, in 1916, killing dozens of people. At 120 meters below the surface, it is only accessible to technical divers. The third in the trio of sister ships, Olympic, transported Canadian troops to and from Halifax during the First World War. Coming up here tomorrow night at 6 o'clock on your newscast, at a time when Canadians are shunning trips and goods to and from the U.S., America's ambassador to Canada joins us in studio for conversation. That interview tomorrow night here on CTV News at 6. And that is our look at the day here at home. Bruce Frisco here at 11:30 with the late update. You can get news anytime at ctvnewsatlantic.ca. I'm Todd Battis. I hope to see you right back here tomorrow night at 6. Until then, good night.
CTV News, the Maritime's #1 newscast.